Yeah, hi everyone. It's Billy here again from 47 Wolves. All I am. I hope you're all well. Welcome today, the beautiful Inside and Out, Tammy Richie, otherwise known as Running Water. And Tammy's an internationally award-winning speaker. So much to go through with Tammy, and I'll let her explain a little bit more in a minute. But yeah, senior leader with Tony Robbins. She's CEO of a company, a personal development company, Yucan2. Wife, a mother of three. There's so many cogs to your wheel, Tammy. Visionary, creative leader, a connector. I love that word. Change maker and advocator for change and mentor to many people. So, yeah, welcome, Tammy, and thank you very much for joining.
Oh, it is my absolute pleasure. Thank you for so much for welcoming me on your platform. That does sound a lot, everybody, with all of those attributes, but I just encourage you also to remember in your own life who your identity is, like who you are, because it's when you go back to that truth. Yes, we might be all these things, but we absolutely have the ability, innate ability within us to create massive change, not just for ourselves, but for the future generations to end the suffering. And so all of those attributes that Billy mentioned, it's a lot. I go, whoa. But everything, I stand true in my power, and it's been the things that have helped me propel and use all of my pains and suffering as driving force to create the change.
Beautiful. All right, Timmy, thank you. And yeah, and you're so right there. You're so right. Would you mind sharing with the people who don't know you or don't know your background just a little bit about where you've come from to and where you're up to now?
Sure. So we were talking about when we were leading up to this call about never assuming. And that word never assuming, we were just talking about the powerful words of Mel Robbins and let them, let me theory. That is so succinct, but just so powerful for us because Mel shares her stories in her books and everything that we can relate to, and that becomes another tool for us in our toolbox to to create this thing in life to continue to move forward. And so I kind of was stirred, reading her book and learning more about her. She's also got the 5 second rule. The 5 second rule, for your listeners, if they're not aware, it's just again really succinct and really easy to comprehend. It's like if your alarm goes off and you're not ready to get out of bed, if you don't get out of bed within those 5 seconds, you're less likely to be proactive. So she just has that as a reminder to go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It might not be convenient or comfortable, but that's when the power comes. But if you make that decision, have that choice to get out of bed, boom, you've got the whole world at your feet. So I loved how she relates and shares a lot of her philosophies in simplistic terms. And so, analysing my life and how I've ended up to where I am, and I'm really proud of some of the changes that I've been able to advocate for in so many different sectors and policies. Not about me, but it's because I've gone through and experienced a lot of the pain through my own journey, my own health, my children's health. So, who am I if I do not speak up and create the change and advocate and put my needs aside? Because otherwise, how do I feel morally if other people are suffering from the very same experience? Because what I know, nothing changes if nothing changes. And doing the same thing over and over and over again is the definition of poison. It's insanity. So if we can put our own needs aside and, as Billy mentioned, tune into our heart, that's where our answers are. And the never assuming comes from a time in my life, and we were talking leading up to this, when ego comes in and tries to tell us what we should do in our life, and we assume we think we know what we're doing, and we have no idea. It's when we go through these full-on experiences that cause us to awaken. Because unless we go through these tough times and suffering, why else would we actually do the hard yards to awaken? So it was many years ago. I thought I was in the right place. I was born into this world and left everyone that I ever knew. I was an abandoned child and I was left at a hospital for 6 long months. The government had made the decision that they were way more valuable than my own mum, because back in those days they didn't have any services and resources for single parents, and my mum was a single parent at the time. She was a widow. She had another child, her husband had passed and had an affair, and I'm the result. Against all odds, I fought to be here, and I entered in this world with my identical twin, and sadly she passed away at birth. I did not even know I had an identical twin, but I knew there was a knowing, as we all do. We all have a knowing inside us, something. And so it was revealed to me much later on in my life along my journey, and then it just made sense, because I had this strong intuition, this push that would just guide me, protect me throughout my life. And so being in the hospital for that amount of time, I was finally adopted by a couple. My dad was amazing. He was my mum and my dad, filled both roles. But my mum had no idea what she was doing. And she had a lot of pain that she'd never ever helped and never healed. And so it's really important that we heal our wounds, because otherwise it passes on, it continues. And so she'd never done that. So hurt people, and I'm big enough to actually be able to forgive her, because again, all of that pain I experienced became my driving force and showed me exactly who I am. And I needed those strengths. How does a young child actually have that as a knowing? Just stop for a moment and think about that. Like, I think about it now, and I'm like blown away to think, it was tough, but some of the hurt that she emotionally gave me, physically gave me, spiritually gave me, I just knew some way, my soul knew that that was going to be, I could put that aside and use it again to help myself grow. And that's exactly what I did do. However, there was a time that I wanted to escape, and it was at the age of 14. I'd had enough, and I had no idea what I was going to do, but I send the energy to the outcome, and that's what is a powerful way to actually do things. Sometimes you don't know what, you just know you got to go, and you just draw on that why. So my why was I need to get away from the pain. So at 14, I packed up everything on my backpack, and I ran down the road, 10 kilometres down the road, and then I got this feeling. It was like a lightning bolt that came through me, because I was actually heading to Sydney in a truck. I was going to head, and my goal was to become a prostitute, which sounds really awful, but that to me was how I was going to survive and get to my next stage. But it never happened, because it would never have happened. When I felt that lightning bolt, it told me, go back, suck it up, get your good grades at school. Do not give it the energy. This is going to be your fuel. Put your energy to the result that you want to achieve, what you want in your life, and the universe will do the rest. Think about that for a second at the age of 14. That's insane, right? That's exactly what I did. Went home, sucked it up. My mum could no longer hurt me anymore. I had a desire of where I was going. I didn't know exactly where it was. So when the military came across my path, and it meant that I could just study hard and get good results at school, and then I could become a aircraft maintenance engineer in the Royal Australian Air Force. And in doing the studies that way, I'd get paid to study. It seemed to be what I thought was a safe and high-valued environment, and that's where I wanted to go. I was craving that safety, craving someone else with high values that my mum just couldn't fulfill. So I went in there and did 17 years in that environment. I met my wonderful husband in that environment, and it wasn't safe and it wasn't high value, sadly. However, those things that I did experience as traumas that many other veterans have experienced as well, I just knew in my soul, again, that there would be an opportunity to create the change that's needed so that others did not have to go through what we went through. A lot of us, suffer from PTSD, and a lot of guys in particular are broken because of being told that boys don't cry, when they were grown up, when they were brought up. And so they weren't able to speak about it and heal the wounds. Instead, they held on to them. So they became victims. And again, another ability that I'm so grateful to have in me is the knowledge to know that it's important to talk about it, to get the healing. And so that's what I've been on the mission my whole life to do. And so, because of that mentality, I've been able to rise up. So during my career, I was I thought I was happy, even though I'd gone through these things, and I thought that's what life was. And becoming an aircraft maintenance engineer was ego driven because I was told as a female I couldn't do that. So my ego mind went, move over, watch this space, and I became the best, most highly awarded aircraft engineer. Again, that's ego. Significance, because I wasn't feeling the love that I needed to feel in my home environment when I was growing up. So having the awards and doing something that I was told I couldn't do gave me that. Does everyone see that? We have the 6 human needs. If you're not a Tony Robbins person that has done any of his training, it's really just powerful just to understand that and to bring that into your life, the different needs, because we all have them and we crave for them. And in different aspects of our life, we can change it to suit our environment. So at that time, I wanted the significance and I got it. How we bring this into the never assume thing is because during that time, 17 years of it, I was fortunate to have 3 children during that time, exposed to heavy carcinogenic, known carcinogenic poisons and toxins in that career, at that time without any PPE because it was direct orders during that time. But I didn't put the energy to that. I put the energy to having fun and creating the best life I possibly could. When we had our 3rd child, I just knew that I couldn't wear that mask anymore. Like it was so fake. I'm turning up doing this work, working harder than the guys to try to really just show who I am as a person and that I should be valued. And it didn't bring me joy or happiness any longer. It was hard work. So with our 3 children, when we had the 3rd one, I knew that he was going to be our last child, and I took maternity leave. And during that maternity leave, I am a type A personality, so I used to always be busy. So during the pregnancy with him, I was working full time, but I knew that I didn't want to do that anymore, but I didn't know what I was going to do next. So I enrolled in a teaching degree at a university. So I was working full time, studying full time as a teacher while I was pregnant and raising 2 children. What happens when you're too busy? You manifest things. And so I did. I got sick. I ended up having 2 autoimmune diseases during that time because the body just can't handle it. And so having those 2 autoimmune diseases, even though it stopped me from, I had to be medicated and it stopped me from being able to breastfeed our then baby, caused me to do things differently, to stop, take a look at my life and see, what on earth am I doing? I don't want to be busy all the time. So I saw that as an opportunity to use the 12 months that I took on maternity leave to create a bit of a plan, but most importantly to allow myself to have the space, to allow myself to breathe, to hug trees, to take my shoes off, to walk in the sand, to swim in the ocean, to meditate, to be mindful. I had no idea why, but my soul led me to do those things. And wait for it, there was a reason. There is always reasons, right? So what that did for me is it helped me remove from my heart, there was a lot more to go, but to remove the layers that were closing my heart, that were protecting me, that weren't allowing me to shine. So those things effectively were starting to open those things up and allow me to tune into this. The heart is so powerful. It's 16 times more powerful, in fact, than the brain. The brain, when we're making decisions, will always choose the safe way. It will always keep us safe. But it won't propel us to allow us to create change. It keeps us at that place, and it knows that. And I didn't even know these things. I was just experiencing it as I was going through. And I felt this sense of freedom. So the never assume thing comes in because at the end of that time, when it was almost time for me to go back to the Air Force, to what I knew, to the engineering that no longer fulfilled me, because my maternity leave was ending, I was like, I don't want to do this. What am I going to do? I don't know. During that time, I did take time out and did a small business course. And my husband was asking, what are you doing that for? I went, I don't know. I was just led because I had opened up my heart and it was giving me the guidance, the divine guidance to show me where I needed to go. And I didn't even know where to go. So I had done that. But there was a time towards the end of that time, just before I was going back to work as an engineer, when we were so excited to purchase our first home. In the military, we were always told where we were going to live. And now all of a sudden, we're on the Gold Coast. We bought our first home. We're so excited to be unpacking boxes in our new home. My husband, on that very day, was at Bunnings getting child locks to make sure the house was safe. We had our other children looked after, and it was a Saturday morning, and all I needed to look after was our little baby. So I decided in a moment that I was going to start unpacking boxes. And as I unpacked the boxes, I got this feeling that I couldn't dismiss. It was a feeling that came in my heart. It caused me to look up to see where my baby was, because he never used to go anywhere before that. I'd sit him down, he'd play with his toys. He was right there within my sight. But when I looked up, he wasn't there. My head was trying to kick in. It was having a fight between the head and the heart during this time. And my head was trying to tell me that he'd be safe. He'll be playing with toys in his room. What would make you think anything else? I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear any other noises. He'll be maybe painting, the walls with your makeup. Who knows? But my heart was like, no, do not listen. Smash that voice. Don't assume that he's okay. Never assume. Go looking. So like a crazy woman, I didn't want to go to where I was led, because I was led through my heart, but I allowed my head to dictate to a point, because nothing would alert me that anything was terribly going wrong. So I did choose to go looking from room to room, box to box, and I couldn't find him anywhere. So then I had to take the steps towards our pool, and suddenly every parent's worst nightmare was my reality. When I discovered our baby boy, the one that we created, the only one in my care at that time, fully clothed with a nappy on, shoes on, floating and unconscious on top of the water. I want you to just take that in just for a second, just to feel the significance of that. Can you just imagine the guilt, the shame, all of that came over me? How could this happen? I'm a good mum. He was learning to swim up until that age as well. The pool was meant to be fenced. We bought the home, we purchased the home. We had all the inspections carried out. Again, I encourage everybody to take this on. Never assume. I assumed that someone would tell me that the pool gate was faulty, because I didn't know. Okay, so when I pulled him out of the pool, I did pull him out. He was floating and unconscious in my arms. I yelled out to get attention. I tried to give my power away to another person, to the neighbours, to anyone that would listen to me. No one was home. It happened to be a Saturday morning when everyone's playing sports. All I had was him in my arms. No one coming to my assistance. So I knew I needed to get 000, emergency, to me as soon as possible. So I raced inside to call 000 on my home phone, and guess what? It wasn't connected.
Oh.
And I had made that phone call leading up to that time to ensure my phone was connected. So you can just imagine how I felt, the helplessness that I felt when I was trying to get assistance to keep my son alive, and it wasn't there. Again, never assume. So then I went, oh my goodness, okay, I need to pull myself together. And in a moment, I needed to smash that voice in my head. And I took a deep, deep breath. And I got out of my head into my heart space. Because the thing is, Billy, I was trained in CPR. I was taught all the tools. But I never, ever, not for once, not even a second, did I feel confident. Ever. So I assumed that I would never have to use this on any person, let alone my own flesh and blood, my own child. It was never delivered to me in a way that I felt confident. And that's not the trainer's problem. That's my problem. Me. How dare I actually attend a training session and actually think that I never will have to use these tools. Walk out of there feeling not confident. Who am I as a person? That's not my identity. That's not who I am, but that's what I did. So for a moment, I felt so confused. I didn't feel adequately trained. My husband was at Bunnings getting child locks. I was thinking, how can I have that conversation with my husband and say, oh yeah, the little boy that we tried for so hard is no longer with us while you're at Bunnings getting child locks to make sure the house is safe. Just imagine that for a moment.
This would have
This
been.
is the war that was going on in my head.
Sounds horrendous.
It was, but fortunately, the time leading up to that time, the maternity leave, I can see how powerful that was now. Because if I would have been in my head and assumed, never assumed, all these complications were happening. The moment I could go into my heart, surrender, let go, understand I don't have all the answers, I don't need to have all the answers. I need to tune into this, to send the energy to the outcome that I desired. And my why was bigger than my why not, because how could I actually, what the guilt that came over me, I would never have survived. All of that energy went into the outcome that I desired. I didn't ask what. I had to lay him down, smash the voice, tune into my heart, and commence CPR on my own child, even though I didn't feel confident. On the first rotation, nothing happened. On the second rotation, oh my God, what a blessing. He started breathing. Can you even believe that? I was able to roll him over, get the water out, and then locate my mobile phone in the new environment with all this uncertainty around that I didn't even know where it was. And I called 000. I kept him alive, and they could not even believe it. They were so proud. They stayed with me on the phone. They told me the movements of where the ambulance were as they were coming to our destination. When the paramedics arrived, they normally expect a person that has had an immersion doesn't survive. So when they arrived, they're prepared to find the worst. And when they arrived and they saw that he was breathing, they were overwhelmed with emotion, so overwhelmed that they grabbed me. Tears were flying out of their eyes. And they went, oh my goodness, do you know how powerful your story is? Do you know how many lives this will inspire and stir souls of to show what's possible, even in the impossible? We need to immerse you in the media. Are you ready to do this? To impact this world? It wasn't even a question. I manifested that very time into my life. I'm so grateful to have my little boy and get to watch his milestones and see the preciousness of life. And that story is so powerful, and will draw the people in to show them the importance of these tools that can actually prevent these incidents from occurring, and share the lessons I learned and the wisdom gained in that short amount of time to show people what is possible in this life. So with the moment notice, I put in my resignation, and I burnt my boats. I had no idea what I was doing. No idea. Nothing. Zero. But it stopped me from going to the engineering. In a moment notice, I burnt my boats, and I went, I need to share this to the world. And the rest is history. All of it none of it has been created for exchange of money at all. Like, I would do this without even being paid Do you know what I mean? Because the universe rewards you when you have a challenge that comes up like that in your life, and you take that as ownership and you run with it and you trust the divine guidance. Grace flows into us all, and we are rewarded through many different ways. And I've just used that philosophy through the whole lot of my life. This was 17 years ago. A lot has come from that time as well, Billy. And I've used all of that I learned during that time to help propel me to be the driving force, to be not conditioned, but to create the change in all different sectors. So many, our health system, our military, so many different sectors that I would not even think is possible. I've done it. And this, I'm not sharing this to be cocky. I'm sharing this to show the viewers just what's possible in the impossible. They get out of their head, out of the conditioning, out of that, and you can see how the never assume philosophy, it becomes so powerful in all of our lives, because we're here on this planet during this time. We've chosen to come here, not just to kick back and, you know, do whatever. You're here for a purpose, all of us. And when you know that purpose, when you wake up and you get that, without getting the Mack truck, I might add, because I got a Mack truck, or several. You don't need to do that. We need to mimic those that have done it before us. Follow their lead so you don't need to. And the most important thing I've learned during this whole process is looking after yourself, the self-care, the health, because some of the things I have been through, it has affected my nervous system in a big way. And, you know, I've had to immerse in the healing, and that's where we met, Billy and I met in one of the sessions that I was doing to help look after myself. So that's the programs that I'm creating as a result of all the things that I'm sharing, because it's not just the first aid company, it's not just the mindset company, personal development, the retreats, you know, the products I've created, the 50 acres that we've manifested to create a solution for the alternative medical centre, all the best people and resources that have come to that energy. It's not all about that. It's about every single person has something important in their lives, which is way bigger than them. We all come here with a purpose. And unless we understand, we wake up, life becomes very, very dull. All of the things that I've got going on in my life at the moment have come as a result of chemical exposure, sadly. And I've manifested the best integrative doctor, the dietitian, the support team. They're all in my corner, right? And they say someone that has been through what you've been through should be really aged, should look really old. However, I'm proud, I'm 53, I look amazing, if I don't say so myself. But he said, you're going to look even more amazing. And that's grace. Grace flowed through, because I don't need to have all the answers. All we need to do, as Tony Robbins shares, being a senior leader of his own, I'm so grateful because I get to be in masterminds with other senior leaders and trainers, and also, you know, embed all of his lessons into me. But I already had my own. I was led to follow him because he is someone that has a similar story to me. He has similar, I'm not saying we have the same, but when he's sharing his stories, I can relate. I'm like, oh my goodness, and that's what I did. So having someone like that, and he again shares simple things to make it reality. So I won't take his things away and share too much, but the main thing that I've learned through my journey is to, when you know your why, your purpose, the reason why you're here, you do the hard yards, even when you think it's impossible. You don't need to know what you're doing. You send the energy to where you need to go to get the results, and you surrender, you let go, and the best people, best resources come into your life, because you remember, you don't have to do it all. The best people, best resources come to help fulfill that need, because the universe then absolutely knows where you need to go.
Beautiful, Tammy. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it's such an inspirational story. And like you said, people don't need to be hit by the Mack truck to find their why, and don't wait for your life to get to that level where you can find inspiration from others. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We'll talk a little bit more about the never assuming, but so many lessons in that. Like it must be, for you, that must be a springboard for you to now, no matter what situation you're in, that can be you can recount to that moment, and that must have just been horrendous, and none of us can even think what was going. You've just articulated it, but the emotions going through, the guilt, the whole range there, you can call upon that strength and that resilience and that listening to the heart, and not your head was saying, oh no, everything's okay, he'll be upstairs, he'll be just doing, he's safe. No, there was something, mother's instinct and your intuition said no, something's wrong.
And I want to just address that, because we do assume, everyone says it's mother's intuition. I'm so sorry, but drowning is one of the biggest killers that we have in our country. It beats domestic violence hands down. And it's still continuing. So I've been advocating for that for a long, long time. So a lot of people that do drown are young children. So when you say mother's intuition, we're not connected to that gift unless we tune into it. It's not available to us. So it's about remembering those things. And yeah, as you're saying, the strengths that have come from, and I've had to take the time to obviously grieve a little bit and heal. I didn't allow myself much time during that time, because it was all just, I was on a train ride just following. But I can see now, he's now 18, and I can see the significance of that moment. But at that moment, and I want to just remind your listeners and your viewers that at any moment, we have choice, right? Any choice. So do we react or do we respond? Because if I would have reacted, it could have been an absolutely different outcome. I'm not unique. I'm not superhuman. I'm just trying to do life like everyone else, right? I responded. I didn't react. And that was through the power of breath. So that's what we all have available to us, but we tend to get busy. We're competing, we're comparing, we're judging people. Like, seriously, come back to the collective. Come back to celebrating people for their successes and not judging and comparing and blah, 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 and getting busy in the chaos of life. Just breathe. Relax.
Absolutely.
Champion everyone that you're with, and understand that we've all had different, they might be powerful that I've been through, but I'm not comparing, because another person I might be struggling to do that, but someone else might be struggling to tie their shoes, but we don't know what journey or what mask they're wearing. Because remember, I was wearing this mask for my whole life up until I joined the military, and then, I thought that was my saving space, but again, that was an opportunity. There's all these opportunities to propel yourself, because it's how you react and respond.
Fantastic. Yeah, I was only talking to a group yesterday about judgment of others, and it was mentioned that when we are judging others, it's there's a little part of us, like when you're pointing the finger, there's a few fingers coming back to your direction. And that judgment comes from insecurity and lack of self-love, all these reasons.
These lessons, right? Always. And any time that you are triggered, I have certain triggers still that I'm still trying to work with. And some of those triggers are not feeling valued, heard, seen, understood, right? Because I'm a powerhouse. I'll just go and do it. And sometimes, those frustrations are the things that we need to look at ourselves to reflect on, to go, why is it? And I look back, and of course I was isolated, I was abandoned, I was alone when I was a baby, but it's like, that's where you need to heal those wounds. So that gives you an opportunity to actually to think about those moments, because we're always trying to evolve and grow, and we shouldn't judge other people, because who are we to know what journey they've been on?
Definitely. One of the, not sure your perspective here, Tammy, but I've noticed probably in the last 10, 15 years, but probably definitely in the last year or so, a shift, and I've said this a few times to many people. I'm 55, so similar vintage to yourself. and I wouldn't have picked you to be 53. So you are living with grace and that internal love. So yeah, we grew up in that, Wolf on what's that movie? Yeah,
Yes, I can't remember the name of it.
but the dog eat dog. You can't succeed unless you climb
Yeah,
the corporate ladder, and it doesn't matter, you tread on people on your way up. But I really feel like we're in a shift at the moment, where we're here to enhance people's lives, and we're here to embrace each other and celebrate. And I love that expression before, and it just seems to be the more I embrace that, because it's always been me anyway. I was never really comfortable, even though I played sport and I was as competitive as anyone, and wanted to win, all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, I feel at this age I'm just here to help others, and I feel like the universe is listening to that, or I'm listening to the universe, and the people that are coming into my life, such as yourself, who are really celebrating each other and enhancing each other's lives, and
yeah,
that unity and that celebration of oneness, rather than that separation that we sort of tended to grow up in that different generation. Would you?
yeah. Really very archaic, most certainly having that. And we do run through a thing in Australia called the tall poppy syndrome, which is still prevalent throughout. Definitely, when you're a light and you're a light worker like we are, dark does come. You threaten other people, but the thing is, we can't take that on. It's their stuff, because hurt people will always hurt people. Um, Remember what we need to do, as we are doing collectively. The reason why, how we can stay so youthful, alive, and young is because we have that purpose. Without a purpose, we're just going through the paces. And I see people, I can feel the people, I'm sure you can as well, that are just doing life just one foot in the other. There's no joy, there's no fun, there's no. And that can come in many different ways. We met in the sweat lodge through Bobby's trainings, the American Indian customs, but somatic stuff like dancing, singing, being nuts, crazy, go back to our inner child, not worrying what people say. I run some programs and they're in Surfers Paradise, and I get people to, jump around and sing to the top of their lungs and dance around in the middle of Surfers Paradise, and they look stupid. But who cares? That is such a freeing thing for them. The moment they get back to that, remind them who they are, and to not worry. We get caught in the trap of worrying what this person says, that person says, and that's stopping us from progressing forward in our lives. We're at this stage of our life now, at this stage, and we're on probably, the shorter end, I suppose, but we're kind of like got all this wisdom, and we see who cares what people say or think. There's no judgment, shouldn't be judgment. They're doing their thing, and in fact, if we think people are judging us, then who are we to think they've got enough time to take time out of their day to actually judge us? And if they are judging us, good luck to them. They got time. I don't have time for that. I'm too busy to, well, not too busy, because I'm also realizing the importance of spaces where the magic is, because you can be busy, busy, busy and do everything yourself, or you can bring on people and outsource the stuff you're not so good at, so that you can work in your genius zone, and that's the most important thing as well.
That's a good lesson there, isn't it? Yeah, to understand yourself and really be truthful, remove the mask, like you said before, Tam, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's paramount. Yeah, that judgment and what's that expression? What other people think of us is none of our business. It's true. It was true back when I heard it 30, 40 years ago, and it's as true today.
Yes, and I think that we've got a pretty important task, because, like you said, you learnt it 30, 40 years ago, but it's still relevant to these days. And so we're going through it. So it's kind of like, how amazing would it be that if the younger generation actually got these golden nuggets that we've gone through and experienced at an early age, rather than waiting till they're our age to get it? So we have a responsibility to share the wisdom, to create the spaces where they want to come. And you know what it is, Billy? Build it and they will come. And we're seeing that with the whole um, my vision, the creation that I have, because we're in a world at this stage where we're sick. We're all getting, a lot of us are getting sick, and people can't afford to use the alternative stuff. So then they have no choice, and they go Western medicine, hospital system, blah blah blah. Right? We have a unique opportunity right now to flip it on its head, right? And not know. We might not know what we're doing in terms of, but we know the outcome. No, it needs to be available to those that are awakening. We don't know how that's going to happen. We trust, surrender, let go, and the universe provides, because that's the currency. I never run with exchange of money in anything. People say, oh, you should be charging, blah, blah, blah. The universe rewards me. I win contracts or do whatever. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when you actually live in that authentic truth, the magic literally does happen.
That's it, and that's so important for those listening, to all our belief systems. A lot of them and our perspectives and viewpoints come from, start from when we're a child, by our parents, the school system, and a whole range of ideas. But we lose ourselves along the way, don't we? We learn to put that mask on, and we lose our authenticity and our integrity, and we just we create all these identities as a mum, a father, a brother, a teammate, a workmate. I'm an engineer. I'm whatever, we lose ourselves along the way. So even when we feel like we're talking truth, if we're not really in touch with our heart, we're not speaking truth, and our vision and our viewpoint of others, and that's where the judgment comes in. It's coming from what we're taught. And you mentioned the medical system. I know generations before us, they, rightly or wrongly, they went to their local family doctors they had back then, and it was a different world, so they were very trustworthy, but the family doctors did know. I remember even as a kid we had one, and he was great. I can still know his name, and he knew us. I could walk in the door even at 5-10 years of age, and he knew, okay, what's up now. These days you've got medical centres, and the doctors don't even know you from a bar of soap in a lot of cases, and nor do they really. I shouldn't say they don't care, but
yeah, it's a taught system, and we are tending to follow and mimic, our elders. And it is a different world, so we do need to take a bit more responsibility for that, to seek alternative or other ways, and not just, sadly, we've nearly lost our child several times in the hospital system, and that's 14 years trying to keep our daughter alive. That's another story, another day, because I've gone through a lot. But the thing is, if you just sit back and you just let that go, who am I? And of course it's hard, it's inconvenient, it's uncomfortable. I've been faced with that even just recently now, with another thing that I've been through. And I'm like, I'm getting tired and worn out, I need to put this sword down. But then I go, if not me, who? If not now, when? Who's my identity? This is who I am. And I need to remind myself. Actually, listeners need to remind themselves, what is the truth and who are they? And in life, we fail to recognise that, because all the masks come on, as you're saying, because we're learning all these things. The blur. I was listening to a podcast the other day, because we need to remind ourselves to keep on filling up our cup. Keep on learning, never stop learning. But I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they're trying to trick us with all this new technology and everything to stop us from. The human body is the most powerful thing in the world. And they're trying to get us to stop using the things we have, so we don't have a voice. If we're going to go there, we need to be very cautious of how we're going. It's very simple. Sure, you can use some of the new technology, but remember who you are, to do the most crucial things every single day, your rituals, your breath work, your meditation, your whatever it is for you, to take the time out. Prayer, tune into your heart. That's the most powerful thing that will get you through, propel you through, and help you stay true to yourself, to be the change in the world you need to see, and make this life count.
Absolutely, and the way to be an inspiration is exactly what you said, Tam, just there. Be the best version of yourself, and sometimes we can teach by just being, can't we? So I'm learning that
Yes,
we've got a lot more influence on the people around us than what we give ourselves credit for, just by
absolutely.
being authentic and being from the heart. That gives permission and for others to remove their mask and to be able to get in touch and lead. Yeah, it's just a lead by example
And
mentality.
I wanted to just say, add to that too, because having children that are not well, it's difficult, and you just want to go and fix it. We're not fixers. We need to be reminded of that. And unconditional love is giving them the space and opportunity to not take the joy from them. Because, earlier on, I'm like trying to fix my daughter, and she had a very different viewpoint to me because she went to university and she's in the, medicine system herself. And so she's got a different viewpoint. But who am I to say that my viewpoint is different? But I just knew just what you just said, Billy. I'm not going to control her because that's controlling, right? But instead, what if I could just be the change in the world I need to see? And do you know what? The most beautiful thing is happening because she is awakening herself.
Beautiful.
She's been in the system where things haven't worked for her, the pharmaceuticals, the treatments. No, now she's taking that ownership and responsibility herself and she's waking up. So that's a gift. And if I would have taken that from her, all of those lessons, all the wisdom, all the journey that she's been on would be totally wasted. So we need to, what you just said is the most perfect thing, not to try and dictate to people to say this is how it's done, but just be the change in the world you need to see. And just surrender, let go, and those that will want to learn from you will naturally just come.
Exactly. And I mean, I think I might have shared with you my cancer journey. It's been in the last 12 months since I was diagnosed, and I don't identify that with that. I don't share that. I've got, share my progress on my podcast, but I don't introduce myself and go, "Hi, I'm Billy. I've got cancer." But
Yes.
it is a factor and it is a part I'm dealing with. But the best thing I've learned through these last 12 months is just being able to be myself, and like when it's all stripped down, you are your essence, you are your vibration. And I've had so many people tell me quite regularly, people that have known me for quite a while, and they see me and they go, "Oh my God, you look better than you did 3 or 4 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago." And I always say thank you, but it's not, yeah, like you said before, what you were saying with your inner vibrance is coming out, and that glow comes out, from inside out. And that's all I put it down to. I'm not being vain, or it's not about being good looking or anything like that. It's being, what energy am I projecting out? And
Yes.
I couldn't tell you how many, it's so many people that have said to me, "Wow, Billy, you look amazing. You look better than what you did before." And I'm like, "Oh, wow, yeah." And I'd like to think that that's been part of that journey of letting go and creating space for the new things and new opportunities in my life. And right from the word go, I've said this many times on my podcast, that the words I got in my inner head, the day I got told I had the cancer, was honour and privilege. And I didn't know what, like you've explained, Tam. It's not for me to question and have that precise vision. And as we know, life's not like a linear, it's sort of up and down and around. And so I don't know exactly where all that's heading, but I just know right from the start, just I'm here to be my best version, and just all that other rubbish that I was holding on to and identities, there's, layer by layer have stripped away, and still doing it. It's a progress, work in
Definitely.
progress.
And I'm going to just remind, because we did a thing, I had a really awesome opportunity just last week before the cyclone hit. And I had an opportunity to deliver some of Tony Robbins' content on his stage. And that's pretty much an honour, right? And so, and it was a little bit of a challenge because they put us into groups, and the groups we're from all around the world. So we meet like from UK to USA and here in Australia, and usually it's upside down time. So we had to come together to meet with our team to be able to decide sharing our stories, like our personal story, to use his content to make it our own, to then pass it on his stage at UPW. That's just happened, right? So we had an opportunity. It was like a competition, and they had teams from all around the world to do this. So the team that I was in, we worked so well together. Our crew got our time zones right. Loved the content. When I was delivering, when it was our time to deliver, that's right when the cyclone was hitting. Right. So still had power. Going crazy outside, but it was literally coming down, pouring down, windy outside, and I'm like, this is insane, do you know? But what we were talking, the honor that we were gifted was quality questions. So your story, that you're sharing there, you had that opportunity to ask that quality question, because when you were diagnosed, because I know when I was diagnosed too, you get this, oh my God, is it the beginning or is it the end? Simple question. That's quality, and that will propel you and decide your next step. Your next step, you don't need to know the full outcome, but the next step forward, And so, anyway, what actually happened is we delivered that, and then you're never going to guess what? Lost power. I only just got power on yesterday. So had no power, so the internet was very unstable. I'm using a generator. So I can't possibly serve at his UPW event, which was all online with 25,000 participants. And our team won. We won the opportunity to deliver on his stage, right? And I said to them, oh my God, we won. I'll be able to just get the generator going and turn up at that time to deliver. But because I couldn't be there to serve at the whole event, I sadly had to step aside. So my team did it without me. They had to work together, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" But it wasn't about it wasn't about the nail. They say when the nail's going through the head, it wasn't about that. It was about the fact that, against all odds, in that great uncertainty, I had a choice. I could put it towards the cyclone and all the frustration. And remember how everyone was going crazy during that time at the shops and on the roads? Or I could put it onto, whatever's going on out there, I'm focused here because I'm having this opportunity to deliver Tony Robbins content on his stage, and I'm going to do it no matter what. So I just want to remind people as well, quality questions is so important in our life, because when things show up, they're going to show up anyway. We're never going to seek to grow and evolve if things just plateau and everything's just boring and normal. That becomes very unboring. We need that uncertainty to bring into all of those gold nuggets and the juice of life to take us to the next stage. So it's like, what is the question you could be asking yourself?
Yeah, and absolutely true, Tam. And I love that. Is this the ending or is this beginning? Like this, that's pretty profound, really. And that's obviously significant in my situation and yours. But you could ask yourself that every 5 minutes: is this the beginning or is this the ending? Yeah.
Because you feel people energetically that are just not living life. You can see it. You can see it in their skin, in their face, in their glow. You can feel their energy. They're dull, they're down, hang on, what are we here for? What are we fought. Every single viewer listener that you have here it was a profound moment. Things changed. The universe, in order for them to actually become connected to the cell, to actually be born at this time. We've all chosen this for a reason. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. Make this life count.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Tammy, I don't want to hold you up all day because we could chat. We've already established that we could both chat for hours and hours. So we might wind it down. But is there anything else that you'd like to? I'd love to have you on again if you'd be willing.
Absolutely. Yeah, be an honour. I am going to a silence retreat coming up. Can you believe it? And the power of that is really because, I do have a lot to say, as you do, Billy, as well. But there's a really incredible gift that comes when you remove all the distractions from your life and you really gift yourself that. So I am going in May for 10 days. I can't believe the insights I'm going to get through the commitment that I'm giving to myself. So wrapping up, there's been a lot of gold nuggets through this whole conversation between Billy and myself. So just remember, in your lives, everybody, when things happen, you do have choice, right? And never ever assume is such a powerful concept you can use, that I've used in my life, but also with others when they're facing struggles, and you should never assume that they're not going through their own stuff. So what would a smile do? What would a hi do? What would, an offer of service without any expectation do, to carry their bags of groceries to the car? Let's come back to community, to collective, and just really just make this life count together.
I love it, Tam. Then you're right. Thank you so much for many nuggets that you've shared with us today, and I look forward to having you share this space again in the future. And I think we could. Yeah, I don't think there's a limit on how much we could talk and different subject matters. And but today's been wonderful, and thank you so much for sharing your story. Even though it taught you so much, it still must be challenging to relive that, like to retell that. And I'm assuming here, but is it?
It is, and it's kind of like, for a while, it's kind of been, it wasn't close to me as such, I suppose. And now I go, oh my God, did that happen to me? That literally happened. And it is insane. So it's not something that, I'm not going through the doom and gloom of it. I'm literally celebrating the beauty that came, that propelled me into my life. It's kind of like that. And then, so what I'll do, Billy, is I'll put my websites are MIA at the moment, but we are working at bringing them back even better than what they were. So when I've got them going, I will send you that. But if your viewers and listeners want to find out more or stay connected, they can find me on Facebook, under Tammy Richie.
I'll share those links underneath. So yeah. Well, thank you so much again for joining us, and it's been an absolute pleasure as always talking to you. And I'm sure everyone listening will get all the nuggets that you've delivered. And it's probably one of those podcasts you could listen to a couple of times and pick up different things, because there's lots of layers to what we were talking about today. So thank you for sharing honestly and your integrity, and from the heart. It's been wonderful.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I'm sure that our paths crossed for bigger reasons than we ever would know. And I'm so grateful to have a tribe of people with different attributes that are just coming together. It's just amazing.
It is. All right. Well, thank you very much, Tammy, and we'll talk to you again soon. And thanks everyone for listening.